First of all, I want to say welcome and thank you for everybody for joining us. I know this is interesting times for all of us, and so this is all about sharing. I'm Karen Sullivan of Sullivan Solutions in Dublin, Ohio, and we are a full-service marketing agency that works with privately held businesses to augment their in-house sales with expert marketing services. So when people ask me how long have I been doing this, I usually say, oh, about 40 some years, because I'm a fourth generation entrepreneur who grew up in a family business. And a long, long time ago, I quickly learned that anything I could do to make it easier to sell, whether it's marketing, merchandising, advertising, or just providing good customer service, was infinitely preferable to any of the other assignments I might have to make myself useful in the family business. So that's how I got my start in marketing. And I'm very passionate about working with small business owners. And I think that's why Kathy Warnick and I connect so well. Kathy Warnick is the founder of Warnick Consultants in Powell, Ohio. I first met Kathy, 10 years ago when I first joined NABO Columbus. But Kathy has been helping.
Don't we wish it was just 10 years ago?
Fair enough. Fair enough. Kathy's been helping businesses grow and prosper and inserting her 2 cents worth wherever it makes sense for over 25 years. And that's what I love about her. Her attention to detail is absolutely legendary. She's a QuickBooks Pro advisor and a certified time slips consultant, and she has a team of consultants that are well known throughout Central Ohio for their expertise. Kathy is a fierce supporter of small business, like no one else I know, especially women-owned business. She's a past president of NABO Columbus, and more recently, Kathy was the past chair of the National Board of Directors for the National Association of Women Business Owners National Organization. So in the true spirit of we are in this together, we're going to do this as kind of a transparent conversation between business owners. Kathy and I have had a reciprocal relationship for a long time, and this webinar truly evolved out of a client service provider conversation that Kathy and I had last week. And we thought, it's a perfect fit for sharing some of the action items that we're both finding useful right now when nothing is operating as it was 6 months ago. So we're hoping that most of you will find it useful as well. And what we bring to this conversation that's really unique is 2 very, very different perspectives on a lot of the same issues. Kathy is very much the numbers detail person, and I'm pretty good on details, but I am not the numbers person. I'm the creative person. So my concerns are, I'm kind of scared of the numbers on this, and going to be asking a lot of questions. So with that being said, let's talk about clarity first, because the normal channels of communication right now are just feeling kind of sludgy. And by that, I mean, we're overwhelmed. Email, social media, TV, everything is filled with COVID-19 overload. And it's really, really hard, much harder than ever, really, to separate out the important stuff. 2 months ago, I thought I was getting bombarded by, junk email. Now it's just crazy. So Kathy, how are you coping with that?
First of all, I don't read every single COVID-19 email. Let me share resources with you email that comes through. You can't, I liken it to you're sick, you're not sure what's wrong, so you go Google it, and it tells you, that you're probably dying of cancer. Find a couple of sources that you are confident are giving you good information, honest information, and stick with those producers of these emails. I bet in a day, I probably have 30 or more emails coming to me from payroll companies and banks and software companies, and everybody has a different take on it. So just control the amount of information that you're reading. Find those sources that are relevant to you, that you're comfortable with, that you trust, and stick with those, and don't try and read everything that comes through.
What are you finding most useful as a source of information?
So mostly my bank, right? They've been my bank for 25 years. Okay, 30 years. I believe that they're looking out for my best interests. They want me to stay in business. They want me to continue to be a customer. A banker should be a trusted partner anyway. If you don't have a banker, and having a banker is different than having a bank.
Mm-hmm.
We all have banks, but you need a banker. You need to have that person that you can call at 6 o'clock at night or 7 o'clock at night on their cell phone and ask them questions, and they're there for you. And banks have business bankers. That's their job, to build relationships with their customers. If you don't have one, call your bank and find out who your banker is and develop that relationship. My attorney, you know, I am asking her questions constantly. My HR person, my HR consulting team, I ask her questions constantly. And then first and foremost, just don't panic. Don't panic. Just take action, right? If you start to feel yourself panicking, take a couple of deep breaths and say, okay, what is it that I need to answer right now? And forget everything else and just drill down to that particular item until you're satisfied with that one, and then take another step and move on further.
How are you handling the crisis with your team?
We're fortunate in that I already had the infrastructure in place for us to work remotely. Although we don't typically work remotely, but it is there. If somebody has a sick child, they can work from home if they can. So it was already in place. I actually instituted the work remote policy about a week before the governor shut everything down. So I already knew it worked, right? But we did run into a couple of snags. There'd only been 1 or 2 people at a time working remotely. And when all of us are trying to remote in, we discovered that I didn't have enough bandwidth for my internet connection, and they couldn't access the server all at the same time. Luckily for me, I had an in with somebody at Time Warner Cable. And so what should have taken a month to get me upgraded only took me a day and a half. I'm very grateful. Thank you very much. And now we're all, you know, working smoothly. For the most part, our clients were good about it. We have a couple who are not. They're typically difficult clients anyway, so there's no surprise that they were going to be difficult about this. And I just had to put my foot down. I just said, this is what we're doing. We're happy to work with you. We can do it. We can make it work. We need your help here to make it work. But this is what we're doing, and we hope that you're still going to work with us. They're not going to find anybody else to do it right now anyway, fortunately. So they'll come around. They'll come around. Most of them are being good about it, though.
With all of the closures, the shutdowns, the delays on the tax filings, all that kind of stuff, what's that doing to the general bookkeeping world right now?
It's keeping us pretty busy. It's keeping us pretty busy. So I know that right now everybody is looking at, okay, what cuts can I make? If I have to lay people off, who is that going to be? What can I get away with not paying? Who can I call and see if I can push these payments back? The one thing that you don't want to do right now is lose your partners. right? You can't lose your banker. You can't lose your accounting person, whether that's your CPA, a tax preparer, your bookkeeper. You can't lose your attorney. You can't lose your HR consultant, especially for small businesses. And if you're a small business and you don't have an HR consultant, you really need one right now. A good example there is I got one of those COVID-19 resource emails. And in the email, it talked about specifically companies who had to pivot to having their staff work remotely. I had no clue in the world that I should have an additional employee agreement for that. We've changed the way we do work. So I needed another agreement for my employees to sign that outlined what was expected of them when they were working from home. These are company computers. You can't, download games on them, that kind of thing. You have to give them back when we're done. And this isn't a permanent solution. This is a temporary solution, and it's going to go from this day to this day. And so I called my attorney. I hope you're on there, Karen Poling. And I said, hey, I just received this email. Is this something that I need to consider? And she said, it is. And I talked to Sharon DeLay, if you're on there. Hi, Sharon DeLay. And thankfully, she already had a couple of documents. And between the three of us, we got the agreement ready to go and off to the employees. So you have to think about things like that. Things are different now. They're different. And you need to think about the differences and any kind of decisions that need to be made around those differences.
I know that's one of the things I think is really difficult about this, and I think you and I both see this. A lot of the clients we both work with are, well, they're all small businesses. There are a lot of sole proprietors, a lot of 1 and 2 member LLCs. There's just a lot of gray area, things that we haven't had to consider before. We've always had our unique set of issues, but we've kind of known what they were. Now suddenly, like the work from home agreements, we're facing some really new things and not always sure what applies and what doesn't.
Right.
And Sharon DeLay on the last call gave us some good input on how to put some of these processes together. And I think when in doubt, do it.
Right.
Something is better than nothing.
Right.
And that actually segues really well into to our next section, which is really, how do you stay in the game? And, you and I talked about it.
Right.
Okay, we're not going to shut down. We're still working. We still have clients who need things, and we're still doing work, but there's an inherent slowness. There's a lot of calls I don't have to take or make, or deadlines I don't have now that things aren't happening. So I have this perception that I have more time. I have more time to work on my business.
Right.
Well, now that I'm looking at working on my business, that's a really, really long list.
Right.
And what does that mean? So, we talked about setting some boundaries around not overworking, but then what are those important things to spend this downtime on so that we are positioned to stay in the game and work on our business?
Right. It's always a good idea to have a business plan. Even if you created a business plan when you started your business, 25 years ago, you need to look at that plan every year anyway and, edit it. Is this still relevant? Do we do this? Do we not do this anymore? So update your business plan. I just did mine actually 2 weeks ago. And I hate doing business plans, hate them with a passion. I think you said it earlier, right? I'm a numbers person. I'm not a words person. I don't want to write all that stuff. But as I started putting that business plan together, I kind of started getting excited again about it. I'm like, no, I can do this. I can do this. We can weather this. This is going to be okay.
Wow. That's awesome.
Right. I mean, I know it's a term that's used a lot. Everybody is saying it, you know, you got to pivot a little bit, right? I can use my trainer as an example. I go see her 2 days a week. I get up at the crack of dawn, sometimes before dawn, and drive down there to work out so that I can, you know, get to work on time in the morning. And now one day I'm there and the next day I can't go anymore. And it's been over a month since I've been down there to work out with her, and I need that workout. I need that workout. It keeps me centered. And she called me at the end of last week and said, how about if we start working out via Zoom? We'll just do a Zoom call and we can work out together separately. And I thought, awesome, let's do that. And now she's contacted several of her other clients, and now she's training again via Zoom. So she just had to think through, how can I do this? How can I still make my business successful through this terrible time? And now she's thrilled and she's back to smiling again because she's doing what she loves, right? And she's helping people. In addition to that, I think it's really important to don't guess what can happen. If you try and guess where you're going to go in your business or how fast it's going to tank, or you're going to always do the doom and gloom scenario. So don't guess. Actually do an analysis of it. Look at your P&L. Take a year's worth of P&L by month, and what's your average revenue, and what's your average cost of goods sold, and what's your average expenses, and fixed and variable. And if you had to cut stuff, what can you cut?
Kathy, you gave us a slide with possible P&L scenarios to do some of this planning. Do you want to talk us through that? Because I'm going to pass it back to you because it's a slide full of numbers.
Yeah, we'll just keep it really simple. Clearly, everybody's P&L is probably way more detailed than this, but we're just going to keep it simple. It's a summary. So in that first column, if your current monthly sales is $300,000, and you've got your variable direct costs and your fixed direct costs and your marketing and sales costs and your general and administrative costs, think through those costs. Some of them are fixed, some of them are variable. Which of those costs can you eliminate right now, short term? A lot of people don't know. Call your banker if you've got loans outstanding or you've got balances on your credit card. Call your banker and ask them to hold the interest charges for a couple of months until this is over. The banks are doing that. What else? Like for me, I am my own landlord. I have an office condo that I own through a different company. Can I not pay my rent? My landlord's not going to kick me out because I'm the landlord. But is that a good idea? And if I don't pay my rent, how am I going to pay my property taxes and that kind of thing? So you really have to think through those things. What can you do to keep the lights on through this? But at the same time, don't decimate your staff or your business, because you still want to be there when this is over. You still want to bring those clients back on. And right now is the perfect time for you to start looking at new avenues of business. Are you going to get any meetings or anybody maybe to agree to do it? No, probably not. But you need to be thinking about, when this is over, who can I go after? Some of our clients might not make it. We might lose clients simply because they go out of business and they need to be replaced. So these are the things that you can start thinking about while we're going through this.
I had a few things that, my clients, of course, I'm the one, not doing the business plan and not doing the numbers. So that's good advice for me. For those of you that like to play with your numbers, I hear a lot of, I don't have time for keeping up with social media. I don't have time for keeping up with my online presence or learning or looking at what other people are doing. One of the things I think this is really a great time for is taking the time to get to know what you look like online, because now more than ever,
Right.
we're proving that's how people are finding you.
Right.
So coming out of this, if you are left standing, you're going to have to be visible. So take some time right now to go through and update those places where you're visible. Many people have not claimed their Google My Business page. Come on, people, it's Google. If you can't just assume Google's going to go out there and find you, you have to tell Google what you want to be known for. So claim your Google My Business listing. Put the information in it that you want to be known for. This is a wonderful time to add a few photographs and understand what that really is. Look at your social media profiles, look at your LinkedIn profiles. All of this is information that your prospects are going to be using, and there's no time like the present to use some of this quiet time to figure that out. Take notes as you go through it. I do that. I don't go in and look at some of these things every single day. So when I go in and look at them, I take notes. What do I have in there? I cut and paste some similar phrases. So I'm not making it up every time, but you do want to make sure it's consistent. So again, a really good time to do some of that. Look at some of the processes. You mentioned the business plan. That's just one of the things that's sitting out there. Yes, you should be looking at it every year. You're probably not. What about your sales processes and your marketing processes? How you're going to find these people? These are the times to think about this right now, because you are going to have to pivot a little bit. They're not going to find you the same way they always have. And you're going to have to rethink and reinvigorate those processes. And some of those things are going to take some time. They're going to take some work to put together. I know, something else that has often come out of our conversations between you and me, Kathy, is the idea of customer testimonials. Because we've worked together on both sides of the desk with each other for a while, we're pretty comfortable asking those kinds of questions and asking for testimonials. This is a wonderful time when you're reaching out with your clients, just to ask them how they're doing. Ask them if they'd be willing to do a testimonial for you.
Right.
Ask a few questions. Have a conversation. And maybe you record it. That's an easy way to listen and engage in the conversation and ask them what it is that they do, what they like about you, why they've continued to work with you, and what they would say about you to other people. Just a couple standard questions to get the conversation going, and pull out one sentence that your loyal clients will say about you, that you can take then to share with ongoing clients. Go out and solicit those LinkedIn reviews, solicit the Google reviews, the Facebook reviews. Go out, even if they're unsolicited, go out and do some for your key clients. Get engaged in some of these conversations that create visibility for you, because you're out there anyway. Everybody's out there trolling on LinkedIn, and we've seen LinkedIn engagements go up astronomically in the last couple of weeks. People are out there paying attention. People are paying attention to things they haven't paid attention to in years.
Right.
In some cases, it's refreshing. In some cases, it's astounding. My husband and I celebrated our 30th wedding anniversary last week, and I did a short little 30-second video just to, we had planned to be in Germany and ended up doing takeout from the refectory. So we made an event of it, and did a cute little video, and I posted it on LinkedIn, and it has absolutely stunned me the engagement I've gotten from it. I mean, that little amateur video has had, you know, well over 1,000 views. So people are out there looking for engaging content, and they're engaging, you know, a little more freely. I don't know what you're finding, Kathy. I'm finding people are much more open to having a phone conversation. They're returning emails.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm encouraging my staff to do this too. Pick up the phone and call your client. Don't just do it via email. Pick up the phone and say, hey, I'm wondering, how are you? How's it going? What can we help you with? Is everyone okay? How's your family? It's not just about them. Everybody. Okay, maybe not everybody. Not the people that I see walking around Walgreens with no mask on and no gloves on, like there's nothing going on in the world. But we're all going through the same thing. So think about what you're feeling and imagine that that's what others are feeling as well. And just that littlest bit of support goes so far. And it's important to do that. We do that with our team every morning. We have a quick 15-minute, 20-minute call. We all call in a free conference call line. And the first order of business every morning is, how are you feeling today? What are you feeling today? It's important when we're all working remotely that we're still all connected, right? And then I'm going to go back also to the business plan that we were talking about before. Part of the business plan needs to have your core values, your company's core values in it. How long has it been since you updated your core values? That was an awesome, I don't know what I'm trying to say. I went through that myself, creating, defining new core values. And again, one of the partners that you should not get rid of in a situation like this are your business advisors. Yep, costs a little bit of money every month to have that business advisor, but holy cow, can you imagine going through this without one? So if you don't have a business advisor, think about maybe getting one. And last week on our call, I had sent him my updated business plan, and I said, you know, tell me what you think about this. And he said, well, you know what, let's go through these core values. And he actually read through the core values out loud and the definitions that I applied to those core values. And are you living this? Is your staff living this? And I found that we were, and it felt really awesome to know that we put that much work into it, and we did it as a team effort. And it became really apparent through this whole COVID crisis that we are living those values. We do it every day. And I think that is helping us stay together as a team and work together as a team. So that kind of stuff is really, really important. What are you feeling today? How are you doing today? And then the other one is don't overwork. Don't overwork. I am killing myself to stay home on the weekends so that I do not go back in the office, because you feel so adrift. I live and die by my calendar. Live and die by my calendar. I have my hair appointment scheduled out for an entire year in advance. And so I open that calendar every morning and nothing on that calendar is happening right now. I can't do the stuff on my calendar because we are quarantined and self-isolating. And I'm finding that's the one thing that I am really, really struggling with is this new normal for me. This is not how my life goes, and I have to learn how to adjust to it. And so that's what I encourage you guys to do. What is it through all of this that is making the hair on the back of your neck stand up, right? It's giving you chills when you think about it. Those are the things that you need to work through, because we're going to be like this for a while. Those are the things that you need to work through.
That takes me to the third point. Relief.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, we're going to be like this for a while, but things are going to change. And what does that change really mean? Yeah, I'm scared about making that rent payment next month. But again, not being the numbers person, I might be more scared that I actually get the relief and then what to do with it. I can honestly say I have not, my business has been very much a service business, and I have not historically had any debt. Maybe don't always take out the amount of money that I want to take out of the business,
Right.
but I haven't carried debt. So the idea of getting these SBA loans that are now available, that's a little scary. And I'm going to interject in here too. I know a lot of folks are scrambling to get those and scrambling to decide what to do with, whether to even apply. So there's questions about that. There's questions about what happens, what's happening after I apply and don't see anything happen for a while. What happens when the sites crash, and then glory be and saints be praised, what happens when I do get the money. So
Right.
we were talking right before we started this, right before we jumped on this call, my SBA email came through, and I had applied for an EIDL loan, or did that SBA application a week ago Saturday, which puts that first response at right about 10 days. First sign of life from the SBA.
Right.
And now they're telling me to turn around and they've clearly logged it, but now I go back to the bank to see what is really workable. What are you seeing from your clients, and how are you working them through some of these issues?
So first of all, check out the loans. I've had a number of clients say, well, that isn't going to apply to me. I'm just a small business, right? I only have 1 or 2 employees. Okay, so what? Apply, right? If you apply for some of this money and you follow all the directives and you do it exactly the way that you're supposed to, that EIDL loan turns into a $10,000 grant. You don't even have to pay it back. And if you do have to pay it back, the payroll protection loan is 1% interest, right? And you don't have to start making the payments for 6 months. It's okay to have debt, especially at a time like this. None of us are going to get through this without having some kind of debt. If you don't feel like the Paycheck Protection Program loan is for you, or the emergency, I always say it backwards, emergency disaster injury loan is for you, you're gonna put balances on your credit cards. Maybe you have a line of credit. It's okay to access those vehicles in order to survive this. I can't sit here on this Zoom call and tell everybody, absolutely, you need to go apply, because I don't know anything about all of their businesses, or whether it's a good idea or not, or even if they meet the criteria. But what I am going to suggest is that most of the banks on their home pages have a link now for the COVID-19 resources, and it will list what each of the loans are, or the payroll tax credits that you can take. They're on there. You can go look at what the criteria is and whether you meet it or not. But really look into that. And again, this is where your business banker is going to be your best friend. I applied for my Paycheck Protection Program loan on April 5th, I think. And it was on a Sunday. And I thought, no one's going to be doing this on a Sunday. Wrong. They were so overloaded that it took me an hour to even get logged on to even take a look at the application itself. I completed the application 5 times, got to the last page where I needed to say submit, and crashed out. I wasn't able to do that until the 6th time. In that process, as I said, on a Sunday, I called the bank's customer service, And they said, "Pah, you may as well just hang up because we're too busy to even get to you." And so I emailed my banker, and I was getting the most bizarre message. It didn't even say, "Hey, we're overwhelmed. You can't do this now. Come back later." I was getting a message that said something like my credentials didn't work, right? So that says to me that I'm doing something wrong. So help me figure this out. And so I emailed my banker on a Sunday at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on a Sunday, and he got back to me within 15 minutes. "No, Kathy, your credentials are fine. It's just overwhelmed. There are too many people there. All I can tell you is keep trying." And I said, "Well, I'm on hold with tech support." And he said too, "Hang up. They're not going to pick up. You're not going to get anybody. Just keep trying." And I kept trying. It took me 3.5 hours, but I finally made it through, right? And I got to submit my application. And I know that they have it because I got the confirmation back. And now what day am I on? Almost 10 days, and I still haven't heard anything yet. So I'm trying not to freak out. However, I have heard from 3 clients now today that I helped complete the application for them, that they have finally heard back from their bank, 2 of which have confirmed that they have been approved for the Paycheck Protection Program loan, and 1, like you, Karen, who got the email that said, "Okay, we got all this. Now somebody will be contacting you to get the rest of the required documentation." And then let's just say, okay, you apply and you get the loan. Please, 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 please understand what the requirements of spending that money are. Because if you don't spend it within the guidelines of the loan, you're going to get penalized for it. So for example, you can apply and receive the Paycheck Protection Program loan, and you can apply and receive the EIDL loan. And it's okay to have both of those loans. But if you, for example, use the PPP loan to pay for your employee wages and for the month of March, you cannot then use the EIDL loan to pay down on those wages either. You have to use that money to pay for April, right? And if you double dip in that, then you're going to be penalized for it, and you're going to owe all the money back. It's not going to be a grant. You're going to get charged interest on it. So work with your CPA, work with your banker, work with your business advisor, go through the requirements for the loan and everything that you have to meet and how you have to document it, and make sure it's the right one for you, and then apply. Don't say, "Oh, I'm probably not going to get it." Okay, maybe not, but what if you did? It might be the difference between staying in business or not. So do it. Take the chance. Apply. It's terrible. 3.5 hours it took me to do that loan. But it's going to be worth it. And then, and I know a lot of small business owners, "Oh, I don't have time to do that." This is why I have such a successful company, because small business owners don't want to do their accounting. They want somebody else to do it for you. Make sure that your accounting is current and up to date. Record your payroll in the payroll line item where it should be. Do your accounting correctly so that when they come back and audit whether or not you use those funds correctly, you can show them that you use those funds correctly. It's really, really important to do.
One of the misconceptions is, yeah, I may not qualify this. That's not for me. It is for you. If this is going to keep you in business, it is for you.
Right.
And I think more than any other time in history, this is positive legislation for small businesses to keep us in business. It
Right.
has never been easier. As difficult as those 3 hours were, and again, coming from the creative side, keep in mind these websites and these systems were literally rolled out in a week.
Yeah.
That's just unheard of. Even a
Right.
simple website is hard to roll out in a week, but these complicated, high traffic forms and applications and so many agencies have to, and companies have to work together. It's really amazing that it's happening this fast and it's this doable.
Right.
So,
Right.
It is a little unclear, but the answer is no if you don't apply. So
Right.
I think
Right.
I've sat in on a couple of seminars with the couple of speakers from the U.S. business, U.S. Chamber of Commerce. Sorry, and that's one of the things that they've hit home on over and over again. The legislators that are putting these things out there, there may be some ambiguities, but rest assured that they're doing this so that we can keep in business and keep money in the economy.
Right.
So
And
go for it.
And one thing I want to caution people too, and I just forgot what I was going to, nobody has said this to me directly. It's just a thought that I had. Actually, one of my staff members mentioned it to me. Through this whole everybody working from home, we've all encountered additional expenses that we wouldn't normally have to do in order to get everybody set up at home, right? I have a client who had to buy a whole new router and wireless system for his house because what he had wasn't strong enough to remote in from home.
Yeah.
I'm encouraging my clients to notate on their credit card statements or on the invoices or on the checks that they pay out that this expense was related to the COVID-19 crisis, because I'm wondering if the IRS isn't, and there has been a little bit of talk about it, whether or not the IRS is going to allow all of these expenses if you can prove and ascertain that it was related to that COVID, that they're going to be a write-off on the tax return. Right. So
Yeah.
just it takes very little extra work to do that. Create a line item on your P&L that says COVID-19 expenses and just put everything in there. And if it turns out that we're wrong and they're not going to do that, well, then we can easily move them where they need to go. But just track them so that you know and you can document the extra expense that you had to encounter for this crisis.
So yeah, we talked, I think, a little bit earlier about, we commented on huddle with your partners. This is
Right.
This is no time to crawl in your hole and not work with those people that
Right.
that help with these expertise.
Right.
So I think, yeah, we talked about the HR pieces, the CPAs. Talk to me a little bit about that. That's, I
Oh, about the partners?
yeah, the CPA, the banker. I don't have that banker I can pick up the phone and call. I tend to, is this the time to make somebody's acquaintance or?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I called my banker and found out that she's not there anymore because she got promoted. So I'm like, awesome. I need my banker more than anything right now. And the gal who
Right.
answered the phone said, well, that's great because I'm your new banker. And I'm like, terrific. So what's your name again? Right. So we got to know each other on the phone. Normally they'd come over and meet with me in person, but we can't do that right now. So we got to know each other on the phone.
Well, I'm gonna interject here. I know we've got a couple of bankers on the call as well. If you guys want to give us any input, feel free to raise your hand or type some information into the chat if it can be helpful for the folks on the call. This is no time to be shy about saying what you can do.
Right. And show your banker some love. I'm going to tell you, a very good friend of mine, Michelle Haslinger, who's a banker at Heartland Bank, she worked almost 3 days straight with very, very little downtime, trying to get to work through with her clients, applying for the loans and getting everything set up at the bank because they knew that this onslaught was going to happen, right? I mean, yeah, it's their job, but they're really going the distance for their clients. And so for all the bankers on there, thank you. I really appreciate it. And I deal a lot with my clients' bankers as well. So it's not just my bankers that I'm in conversation with all the time. It's also my clients' bankers that I'm in conversation with. They're there to help you. That's their job. And they want to do that. And they're often very, very good at it. So if you don't have a specific banker, call the bank, call the branch nearest to you, the one that you go deposit all your money in, and say, hey, I'd really like to know who my banker is. And if I don't have one assigned to me, how do I get one assigned to me? And they'll find somebody who will contact you. And then you don't have to call the 1-800 number and sit on hold with customer support. You call your banker and say, hey, I have this problem. Can you help me with it? And they say, absolutely.
I see a question from Karen Poling.
Sure.
Any thoughts about switching banks during COVID-19 if you don't have that relationship? And I know you and I talked about that too. That segues right or parallels the issue of, do you apply for this stuff more than one bank?
Yeah. So it is my understanding that it is okay to apply more than once for the loan, more than one bank. I have a client whose bank, I won't mention the bank, but they are way behind the curve. Way, way, way behind the curve. They don't intend to have an application or a link open for another 2 weeks. And of course, he's panicking that by then all the money's going to be gone and he's not going to get it. And so I said, well, let me call my banker and see, in order to do this, do you have to, bank at that bank? And my banker said, that they are, because the loan is via the internet, right? So you have to have an online account at the bank in order to apply. So you have to have at least one product with that bank in order to apply. And he said, the problem right now is, Kathy, we are also overworked trying to process these loan payments, that there almost isn't anybody who can set up an account. I mean, I can do it. I can get the paperwork and everything going for him, but it's going to take a week to 10 days to even get the account going. So I don't think that I would recommend changing banks right now. But honestly, if your bank's not meeting your needs through this, then when this is over and things have settled down, then you might think about moving to a different bank. And wow, that's painful. That is not something that I recommend often because it's really painful. I will tell you that he did find a community bank, that a small community bank, that his father banks there, he does not, and the bank did take his loan.
Yeah. And
did not make him open a checking account or savings account or anything like that. So
I do know the SBA, as well as, and I had put a link into the chat earlier, businesshelp.ohio.gov. You can go through those portals and get information for referrals to banks that are open and eligible to help you with these things. But yeah, you do pretty much, you pretty much have to do the legwork to make it happen.
Yep. And your CPAs, you guys, your CPA right now needs to be your best friend. Your tax returns have been extended till July. And then I think 3 months after that, if you file an extension, I don't recommend that you wait till July to have your tax return done. If you're in a position to get it done and get it off to your CPA, get it done early. Get it done early. If you wait until July, all those people who are getting refunds, they're all going to happen at the same time, right? So if you're ready to have your tax return done, do it now. Make it easy on your CPA because they're really swamped in April. In July, they're going to be really swamped.
The one takeaway, if you haven't seen it more than once, is the don't panic. Don't panic.
Take action.
Take action. And we definitely heard that a week ago from the folks that we did a call with, and same thing.
Right.
There's
take a deep breath. We're going to get through this. We're going to get through it.
And I think I can speak for both Kathy and myself. We're here. We are in this together, and we're going to find a way through it. So call us. Definitely definitely reach out, email either one of us, and we're here to help.
Yep, I'm happy to answer questions if people have them, if I can, and if I can't answer it, I can probably give you a resource to get the answer.
Thank you, Kathy, for spending time to go through all this and sharing what I consider just a wealth of knowledge.
Yep,
All the
happy to
number
help.
stuff.
Happy to help.
And thanks everybody for joining us.
Yep, stay healthy.